Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here with my second edition of my ongoing top 10 series throughout the month of July. This time it's going to be on my top 10 non-cliche anime characters. Now this top 10 was a request by one of my subscribers, Quotable Notables, and when he first suggested it, he said the top 10 non-cliche lead characters, and to make it a little more broad, I took out the whole lead characters and just said characters in anime. I think it sounds much smoother, you know, because I'm a pretentious asshole like that. Now many of you may have different definitions on what a non-cliche character is, but in my opinion, a non-cliche character is a character that shares many characteristics that are very different from characters in the same genre. They can either have a unique aspect or design or a combination of the two that makes them stand out in the genre that they're in. Now, I'm not infallible, okay? My definition might not be the best definition for a non-cliche character, so I would like to know what your definition of a non-cliche character is. Be sure to comment and let me know. And just like in my top 10 list last week, if you have not seen it, click this button right here. I probably have a link to it so you can go check it out. I have some ground rules when creating this list. The first one is there's only one entry per series. The second rule, and this kind of goes about my definition of a non-cliche character, is that they must have a characteristic or an aspect about them that is barely or rarely seen in the genre that they're in. They have to be unique. And with that, let's get to the list, shall we? Now, number 10 may shock a few of you because of my personal opinions of the character, but personal opinions aside, my number 10 choice is Makoto from School Days. Yes! He's a despicable character, we all hate his fucking guts, and he definitely got what he deserved at the end of School Days. But it's because of his despicable nature that makes him a really unique character. Now whether you like him or not for his characteristics, that's totally on you. But truly, Makoto is a very unique character in the sense that you really don't see characters like that in the romance genre or in anime in general. I mean seriously, think off the top of your head of a character that acts just like Makoto in anime. Right? But the reason that he's so low on this list is because this is the only time I will ever acknowledge Makoto in a positive light ever again. Number 9 is Afro Samurai from Afro Samurai. Now before you all start blasting me saying, hey, he's not a non-cliche character, he's just your typical badass in a badass action anime. But the reason that he's on this list is not only for the fact that he's one of the few black characters in animes, and probably one of the only black characters to be a lead in an anime, but the characteristics of Afro Samurai are vastly different from his contemporaries, such as Guts, Goku, Vegeta, Naruto, and Ichigo. Afro doesn't fight to save the world from tyranny, he doesn't fight to gain power, he fights solely on getting revenge for his dead father. Most action anime characters fall under two categories. One, they serve as protectors of the world, or two, they try to build up their strength to become the most powerful in the world. Now of course there are exceptions, and Afro Samurai falls under the category of exceptions. And many of you may think that he falls under the second category in the sense that he trained to become the most powerful, but the truth is the characters that train to become the most powerful, they do it for their own ambition to be the most powerful. Afro Samurai trained to be powerful so that he can go toe to toe with justice. That's it. He never wanted to be the number 1 headband. Hell, he didn't even want to be the number 2, but the only way he could fight number 1 is to become number 2, and the only way to stay number 2 is you need to be strong. And that's why Afro Samurai is number 9. And can we please have some more black characters be the main characters? I mean, come on. Number 8 is Sokka Maru from Ninja Nonsense. Now, where his characteristics may be similar to other characters in ecchi anime, it's the character alone that got him on this list. Throughout the entire anime, you really don't know what Sokka Maru is, and honestly, I've never seen a character like Sokka Maru. I mean, in early episodes, you can see that he has wings and he's referred to as a hawk. In other episodes, he's just like a bouncing ball with some feet maybe sometimes. And then in other episodes, he's like a full-blown muscular body. I'm like, what is this character? He's probably one of the strangest characters I've ever seen in an anime, and the fact that we don't know what he really is what makes him very unique. Number 7 is Autoroute Moroboshi from Yurusen Yatsura. What makes this character so unique, especially in the ecchi genre, is because he's one of the first, if not one of the only characters in the ecchi genre that actually embraces his perverted nature. He doesn't hide the fact that he loves girls, he doesn't hide the fact that he loves boobs, and he doesn't hide the fact that he's perverted at all. He's probably one of the most straightforward characters ever in anime. Most ecchi animes basically follows like a typical guy or a typical nerd that ends up with a bunch of girls and gets put into these awkward situations That's not the case with Autoroute. Yes, he shares the typical guy aspect, but he embraces his pervertedness and he loves the situations that he gets in. Instead of saying, why am I always in these situations? He's always like, yes. And I gotta say, characters like that are very rare to come by. Number 6 is Celty from Durara. I couldn't make a top 10 non-cliche characters list without adding her. She is probably one of the most unique girls in anime. Given the fact that this character can be so likable and even sexy at times, even though she doesn't have a head. I mean, really, think off the top of your head of a character that's just like Celty. Yeah, there's not much. You might get a few girls that share some characteristics of her, but there will never be another character just like Celty at all, making her probably one of the most unique characters in anime. Number 5 is Heartseed from Kokodo Connect. Like I mentioned in my review, he's probably one of the most mysterious and enigmatic characters I've ever seen in an anime. What makes this character so unique is because he falls under that really fine line between good and bad. Because honestly, he's not a bad guy, he's not doing this to torture them, but at the same time, he's not a good guy either. He's not doing this to help them, he's just doing it because he was bored. And the character to this day is still shrouded in mystery to me. Who is this character? What's this character's purpose, motivation, all that stuff? You don't get any of those answers, which keeps this character very interesting and very mysterious. Rarely do you ever get characters that are shrouded in mystery in anime besides, you know, the Evangelion series, but Heartseed took the cake as one of the most mysterious characters I've ever seen in an anime. Number 4 is my 2 favorite girls, Panty and Stocking. Now what puts Panty and Stocking on this list is the mere fact that they are the total opposites and contradictions of what angels and magical girls should be. They're foul-mouthed, arrogant, slutty, compulsive, any bad adjective that you can think of, these girls emulate. They are a complete 180 to the title that they're given, which is angels. And you might say, well Tony, they're not non-cliche characters. I mean, they're your typical badass, foul-mouthed characters. Hell, Revi's like that. But where they differ from Revi is the fact that they're from heaven. They're from the most peaceful place in the entire universe where nothing can go bad, no one is ever mean to you. Revi was raised in a very harsh environment that made her into a harsh person. Panty and Stocking came from heaven, where they taught nothing but kindness and gentleness, yet you see their personality, you're like, whoa, is that really what heaven's like? I guess what I'm saying is Revi was a product of her own environment, but Panty and Stocking were not a product of their environment. They were just a product of themselves. They were badass to begin with. And not only that, but the tasks that they perform, the weapons that they use, and the way that the characters are designed make them one of the more unique characters in anime as well. Now my number 3 choice is a little more serious than the other choices on this list, and that is Shuichi Nitori from Horo Masoka. What puts Nitori so high up on this list is that he was the first character that I ever saw that took the topic of transsexuality and took it seriously. It wasn't made for jokes or laughs, it wasn't made to be a satire, it showed a realistic depiction of a character that was going through transsexuality and gender identity, making Horo Masoka one of the most original animes that I've ever seen in my life. And mostly characters that are transsexual are shown in a comical light or shown to be very gay. Nitori was none of those things. He was a very shy and timid kid who did like girls, but he also liked to dress up as a girl. And that's why I put Nitori on this list. He's one of the most unique and non-cliche characters I've ever seen in an anime for the mere fact that they showed a boy dealing with transsexuality in a serious light. And switching from a very serious note to a very comical note, my number 2 choice is Bobobo Bo Bobobo. If the name alone doesn't tell you why he's on this list, then I don't know how else to convince you that this character is truly a non-cliche character. I mean, I could sit here for hours upon hours going into great detail on how this character is one of the most unique characters I ever seen in an anime. First off, his name. Have you ever heard a name like that in any form of media? TV, movie, anime, manga? No. Second is his appearance. He is a blonde black guy with a huge blonde afro. Have you ever seen a character like that in an anime? No. Third, his afro acts as some type of container from another dimension that pops out all these different people or creatures. It's bizarre. And my last and probably the biggest aspect that makes him a non-cliche character is his special ability Fist of the Nose Hair. And it's as bizarre as it sounds. Nose hairs come out of his nose and whips all his enemies. Bobo is without a doubt one of the staples of a non-cliche character. But as much as Bobo stands as the epitome of a non-cliche character, my choice for number 1 was Mackenzie from School Rumble. Now you all know that I really love Harima, and many of you may think he doesn't deserve to be number 1 or even on this list for the fact that his characteristics are very similar to characters that are in other animes just like School Rumble. But where he differs is the fact that he's one of the first delinquents ever to be a main character in an anime and just be shown this more gentle side and more relatable side. I mean, in almost any anime I see, you see the delinquent guy in the sidelines who kind of just stands there, be all tough, but you really don't get an understanding of where this character comes from. That's different with Harima. You actually understand how he ended up to be a delinquent and why he chose the life that he chose. For me, Harima was the true definition of don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge Harima because he looks like a delinquent. He's actually probably one of the most nicest guys in all of School Rumble. And the fact that they gave the character a passion and a drive, you really don't see that in a lot of delinquents. You don't really see a lot of delinquents going after a girl, or seeing a lot of delinquents making their own manga, or seeing a delinquent actually associate himself with a bunch of people. That's what made him unique, and that's what made him very non-cliche. In summation, Harima changed my perspective of delinquents in anime, because it made me really think, like, what if there's more to a delinquent than meets the eye? What if there's a more vulnerable part to this person that they don't really show, or they're trying to hide? Maybe there's an aspect to their life that we really don't see. Harima brought that out to me, and he's one of my all-time favorite characters in animes, and that's why Mackenzie is my number 1 choice of the most non-cliche characters in anime. And those, ladies and gentlemen, were my choices for the top 10 non-cliche characters in anime. And I would like to know, what are your choices for the top 10 non-cliche characters in anime? Be sure to comment below, let me know. Stay tuned next week for another top 10 list. Probably will be on movies, but until then, guys, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to my channel, welcome to the Black Critic Guy. Like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm Tony Watley II from the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.